Nice to meet you, Tim.
Yeah, same.
Please, how did you find out about Billy?
The short version is I grew up in a very religious family. Both my grandfathers were heavily involved in different denominations, right? So they both thought each other had it wrong, of course, and I'm the grandkid stuck in the middle, so to speak. But my dad was religious and a very conservative brand of Christianity. You know, I tried to believe. I did my best to, live by the morals that they're teaching. I failed at it, as anybody who's under the law does. But so that was kind of my background. And then heading into my adult life, I was a professional hockey player, and I played professional hockey for quite a while till I was 40. And most of the time I was gone. It was only in the summer times when I'd come back to Michigan or stuff that my parents or grandparents would be like, you going to church? You got to go to church, And I did to really more than anything to make them happy, in my 20s. I was, but then I became quite successful, and that kind of carried on for a while. And then I became really successful at like age 37. I had an amazing year. Like after I won, I was treated as a star, and I'm being held up on a pedestal. But in the following year after that, I started to devalue everything that I'd done in my whole life, because with my religious background, if you weren't getting people saved, if you weren't storing up treasures in heaven, you weren't doing the right thing. And so that thinking started to creep in the year after I won the Stanley Cup. So actually, I took a year off playing hockey, and I went to, me and my wife actually went to Bible college out in Colorado, and learned a totally different view of Christianity than what my background was. Instead of conservative, it was more what I guess you could call it liberal, but it still just didn't make sense and left me confused. I ended up going back and playing hockey for one more year after that, and I had a few really bad concussions that kind of really changed my life. At age 40, I stopped playing hockey, but I'd acquired quite a bit of brain trauma from playing hockey. And so I started to struggle with that. And at the same time, I was trying to figure out, I thought, well, from my mindset I was in, I was begging God to help me. And I was trying to humble myself as much as I could before God to get in His graces so that I could get out of the severe struggle that I was in mentally and physically. It took years of struggling and praying and begging to what I now would believe a non-existent God. So it took me a long time before I'd open my thinking, but there came a point at 42, 43 years old, I would say, that I'd got so desperate that I was willing to look at anything that made sense about who we are, what we're doing here, where we come from, because I didn't find those answers previously. Eventually, I came across a Stephen Greer video, and it was talking about a fake alien invasion. That video was actually, which at the time was I'd never even thought of anything like that. And I ended up noticing a video on the side. YouTube gives you the recommendations for the videos, and it ended up being a Michael Horn video that basically was saying why Stephen Greer is wrong, and so I watched that video, and it was what he's saying is Michael Horn was saying was very interesting, and it made more sense than what Stephen Greer was saying to me. And so I ended up following that video to Michael Horn's website, but it didn't take me too long until I got to Future of Mankind, and I could read the contact reports. So I started investigating all of Billy's writings, I guess, from there. That's how I got there.
Please, can you go into like what you've read about Billy or how it developed you and kind of got into it, like contact reports, and then kind of what intrigued you, kind of?
Everything. No, I think one of the first books I ordered, if not the first book, was an old contact reports, like 1 through 50 or something. There's a book I still have. I think that's the first one I read. I was still really struggling with head trauma back then. I still am to a level.
Can you say what happened? Like,
Yeah.
people have an understanding.
Oh, well, pucks hitting me in the head, me boxing when I was a kid, me hitting helmets when we were playing football, me hitting my head on a rock when I was younger. Like,
well, you mentioned like you had severe concussions, so that it's usually a certain event that causes that.
Yeah, when I was the last season I played, I had a certain concussion. It was in warm-ups, just right on the chin, and that disconnected me from my decision-making center in my brain, essentially.
You couldn't make decisions, you say, like, or you couldn't or you wouldn't.
No,
like,
I couldn't.
You couldn't.
I couldn't. It was so frustrating, and to a level that lasted years. I survived the rest of that hockey season basically just following the team schedule. Like, we would get on the road, we would fly into a place, get to the hotel at like 5 or 6, and we're not playing until the next night. And usually previous to that, you just decide whether you're going to go out to eat, who you're going to go out to eat with, whether you're going to stay in their room, whatever. I would go to the room because you check in the hotel, you go to your room, and quite often it would end up being like 11 o'clock at night, and I hadn't made a decision. I sat there trying to make a decision for 5-6 hours.
Oh, gee.
And it would just go in loops. The options would just go in loops.
Yeah.
If I could think of the options.
Yeah. Yeah, so then you started to read about Billy.
So, yes. So, when I found Billy Meier material, I started out by reading the contact reports. But then, shortly thereafter, I started with the psyche. And I realized that is a book that, might be able to help me with all the negative thoughts and that I made a pattern in my thinking. Some of them by accident, some of them by conditioning. But I started to read the psyche, and I did the candle meditation.
What is the candle meditation? Or what do you do?
You sit at a table with a candle burning, and you focus on the middle portion of the flame. But there's a step-by-step progression where you start with 5 minutes, and there's a time period where you're trying to train yourself to just clear your mind, and then there's a time period as you go where you try to build a picture of either a red or yellow rose in your mind while you're staring at the candle. That brought back my ability to focus and keep a train of thought when I was talking to people and such, and not just bounce everywhere, which I still can do. But but also it made my my memory get much stronger. Like, I'm better with names than I've ever been in my life. I'm not perfect. I don't remember everyone's name. But, like, for example, I remember names very well. I remember little things like, where's the green pen, Dad? Oh, it's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a consequence of the candle meditation. Also, as part of my brain trauma, I basically kind of lost the ability to create pictures in my head. I had a very difficult time of building a picture of a rose in my head at the start, and I ended up buying quite a few roses so that I had, and staring at just the rose outside of the meditation to try to recreate that picture. And I did. But eventually there comes a time where you switch to using the whole time as a wishful dreaming. Like, once you get to an advanced enough level, it switches to like wishful dreaming while you're looking at the candle. And it took me an incredibly long time to get there because it took me so long to come up with the rose, to get the picture of the rose in my head. But yeah.
What I like is like you struggled, of course, but I know quite a few people also. I was in Tibetan Buddhism, and one once asked, well, or several, I have a difficult time to visualize this or that. So that's actually kind of common.
Oh, okay.
That people struggle with that.
Okay.
and also that it works because you kind of fought through, but then kind of you got the results kind of that helped you, you know.
I did. So, even when I was struggling, like my ability to focus, I guess, was being strengthened. So my ability to like have a conversation and stay on track with that conversation grew. And as I said, my memory improved. And I also used, other things that are in the book, The Psyche, that have helped me to get back to a level that is a much better level of life and happiness. Just walking barefoot, for example, that was one that I put into practice. And there was one point where I walked barefoot every day for 6 months, and that was a big jump in my recovery. And I'm still utilizing it when it's warm out. I'm not tough enough to do it in the cold.
Yeah. It's like they're rediscovering what they call grounding now, you know. But it's actually just walking barefoot, you know. But I also noticed that if you apply like, that's a little thing, you know, just to take your shoes off and walk barefoot.
Yeah.
But how much that can already make a difference. And if you add this up, and like meditation or other things that you kind of, I have to watch my thoughts more, you know, or that step by step, that all these little things add up to something big, you know, that your quality of life improved considerably.
Yes.
Because you didn't do just one thing, you did also other things and try to put it into practice, you know.
Yes, I'm an overcomplicator. So like some of the suggestions, like walking barefoot and such, is so simple that I think I overlook the value of them at times.
Yeah.
But that's some from the material. Some of the things I've learned. Is, just a half hour walk a day, how beneficial that is for you.
Yeah.
And like, but in today's world, it seems like people want to think of an hour and a half workout.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
something.
And you don't need it.
Yeah.
And at some point, it stresses your body out.
Right.
You know, instead of just walking. But walk and not sit all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Having the athletic background and being a professional athlete, that's been a hard lesson for me to learn. Is to slow down, and that's still enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you had to push yourself all the time.
Yep.
You know, I think that's hard for most people to imagine, to kind of function at this peak level all the time, you know. And if you just screw up once, you know, it's in the next day in the papers, and like, you know, and he played like totally lousy, you know, and everybody reads it. So just because you had one bad day, kind of, and so that push, of course, you put yourself under pressure then, and so that's how hard it is on the psyche, but also on the body.
Yeah.
To be a professional athlete. You know?
The game of hockey, anyways, evolved during the time period that I played. Early on in my career, like, people took time off in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, they would take a good 2 months off without training. And it evolved into everybody was training all the time, even in the summertime, trying to become better than the other person and to pushing themselves. And I don't think that's healthy for you. I think those breaks are needed for the body to recover.
Yeah.
And that's part of the health struggles that I've had since I stopped playing hockey, is because I just pushed myself so far.
What else have you read? Like the Psyche? What else have you
Might of Thoughts is my most ragged book. It's probably the one that I touch on the most.
Yeah.
I love the book. You can open it up anywhere, and I can't say I have a comprehensive understanding of everything that's being taught in that book.
Actually, you can read it every few years, and sometimes I did say, "Oh, I didn't read that." Where does this come from? I read the book, and it's like completely new to me. So it's like you just go deeper and deeper every time you read it again. I think.
Yeah. The Way to Live is another one that I've read or major parts of.
Data Zata.
Yeah.
That's a tongue breaker.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites, actually. I think if as far as easy reading goes, that's the easiest one, I would say. And I recently got is it Death, Dying, and Resurrection?
There's a new translation.
Yeah. And I just barely started on that at the very beginning of it. I just got it in the last couple of weeks.
Data is still far away, but Death and Dying, that's gonna be pretty soon, so in comparison, so it's helpful for everybody. Or other people who die, and then you are suffering kind of, and then how to deal with that,
I know
sadness and so I think it's a very important book that everybody should read, but everybody has to decide.
And if it's anything like, which I'm sure it is, like the rest of Billy's teachings, it's like it ends up being freeing. It ends up being liberating, right?
Yeah, it's also my experience. Like the word makes sense. Okay, we are here to evolve. Okay, that's the meaning of life. So how do I do that now? But you don't have to search anymore.
Yeah.
So and then this is, I think, a huge relief. This my struggle or search was different. Everybody's is different. But what am I doing here? Why am I here?
Yeah.
And now, okay, I'm here to do whatever I think for myself is the purpose of my life, and that I try to evolve and help others and become a decent person, kind of, true human being.
I think I was always a decent person. A lot of the takeaways from the books and contact reports and the stuff that I've read, I mean, just having an explanation for some things. And then, this isn't, Billy's teachings aren't like anything else where, they're like, believe this is the truth. It's not like that. It's like, but what he says makes sense.
It's self-evident. I think, but you have to think about it. And some is very new, because we are taught differently. See also how does it work in my life? That's also what I see. When I apply this, does it work or does it not work? If it doesn't work, then forget about it. So, and in his case, it does work. But you have to apply it and apply it correctly, of course. Do you talk with friends about Billy, or kind of do you keep it more to yourself?
These days, I keep it more to myself. When the first couple of years, maybe. I would say that I shared with too many people. Fortunately, a lot of it was family. And nobody gave me a hard time about it, but I could tell that it made them uncomfortable. And I was, at that time, I was kind of preaching it. I was taught to do in Christianity. I brought it up too much with my kids and my wife and stuff, and my mom. They were around and I was sharing everything I learned. And I still do, but I do it I pick and choose, if something that I think will be interesting to them. And it's just great thoughts or whatever, or great teaching. Then I share it with my nuclear family like that.
But your daughter is quite open. We talked this morning, and she's really open to it. And I think she also tries to kind of learn from it and take the best of it. And that's great, I
think my son's in a similar place.
Yeah.
And So I've been lucky. I know people get negative reactions sometimes when they share it. I never got super negative. I just got just negative enough that I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I need to approach this a little bit differently.
You are in contact with Tom Stone, aren't you?
I haven't been in contact with him in a while.
Yeah.
But
you were.
Yes, I was.
Well, his methods helped me tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I knew already about Billy, but I wasn't really interested. And I applied his methods, and I think that also helped a lot for me to end up in Hinterschmidt-Rüti, actually.
Okay.
To solve kind of emotional problems to that point. So can you tell a little bit about Tom Stone, his method, and how it helped you maybe also?
I was actually recommended Tom Stone's work through you. I don't know if you remember that.
That's some time ago.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
I do believe, anyway. Yeah, you mentioned it, and then I looked it up on my own. I ended up getting a couple of his books, and I read the books before I reached out to him. And he took me through the technique, and I ended up, it was a major change for me. Specifically, one of the major things that happened was I could watch hockey without the emotional attachment anymore.
Yeah, amazing.
Like previously to that, since stopping playing and going through all the struggles, like if I watched it on TV, like
it triggered bad memories.
Yeah, and I would, and then I would get upset thinking about what people are doing to their brains.
Yeah, right. Brain damage.
Yeah. Well, now I do that. I'm more neutral about it. Whereas I would get caught up in emotion. I couldn't stand to watch it.
Yeah.
A guy would get hit hard, and I'm
like, oh yeah, you're just broken down. Yeah. It's like, you can't even watch it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But I remember after, utilizing Tom's technique to work on the, what would you call them? Energy points?
Yeah. Like, as I understood it, like you have blockages, emotional or any trauma causes like energy blockages in your body physically, and also like that emotional trauma kind of causes these blockages in your subtle energy body in your body, and they are kind of resolved through these two main methods he uses. In psychotherapy, often the patients are re-traumatized by going through it step by step.
Yeah.
They went through.
Yeah.
And in his method, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
You get into it without being swept away by it, because you're in the center of this hurricane, eye of the storm, as he describes it. And he guides you, and you can do it also for yourself, but I never met him. So that's why I'm so curious about it, and never talked to him also, because I did it basically myself, and not kind of perfectly, but good enough that I became more functioning, and that this emotional stress and trauma kind of just really dissolved, and lots of it, and I thought, this is just. Again, there where you think this is too easy, this is because you think it must be hard, and it doesn't have to be. Just like walking barefoot, it's so simple, and what an effect, you actually you stimulate by walking barefoot every organ in your body, because every organ is connected to some part of your foot, so you kind of massage all your organs just by walking barefoot, and they're stimulated because if you're in these soft shoes always, you don't have this stimulation, and you're kind of lose touch with ground and a little bit reality,
Yeah.
So it's such a simple method, and in his case, it's like, I remember it's like, this one is where you try to, or can you describe the methods?
I haven't thought about them in a while. I haven't used them, even though they help me, and they actually help my kids too. Both of them. My son, I actually did the technique with him myself.
Yeah.
And it definitely helped helped him during a time period. And my daughter, she had a special session with Tom. And,
great.
And it really, it changed her life a lot. I mean,
perfect guide.
It wasn't overnight, instantaneously, actually.
Yeah. So as he says, you have to go really all the way through. When you have a guide, then he makes sure that you go all the way through,
Yeah.
And that you don't get scared or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I can recommend that his work really wholeheartedly, and it helped me also a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your daughter is really relaxed now and not tense at all, So
yes.
She speaks her mind.
Yes,
that's great. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much
for
the talk. I really appreciate that you took the time, and I'm really happy that we could make this happen. And maybe we meet in der Schmidt-Ritchie someday.
Yeah. Thanks for going out of your way. To come see me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.